CBS News Money Watch correspondent Kelly O'Grady joins us now. Kelly, let's talk TikTok.
Oh, yeah. Finally a deal.
See what you
Finally. How long has it been?
Well, if you go back to
first
2018, that was when the president originally wanted to ban it. Now we're in a second term. He was trying to save it. But yes, this was delayed almost a year in total from that original ban in 2024.
So break down this deal for us, and what are the safeguards that are going to protect our national security? Because that's really what was, motivating this.
Right. The concern was that Chinese lawmakers and the government would be able to get access to U.S. user data because TikTok is owned by a Chinese company, ByteDance. So this deal is just for the U.S. operations of TikTok. That's very important. It's going to be spun off into a new entity, and then it's going to be governed by a board of mostly American investors. Now, I want to go through the ownership structure because this is a little bit tricky.
Okay.
So there are three main investors, and each are going to get 15% of the company, of this new U.S. entity. One is Oracle, which is a tech giant, right? Another is the private equity firm Silver Lake, and then there's MGX. That's an Abu Dhabi-based firm. Then, if you're still with me, there's another 30% of a consortium of investors. Michael Dell is one of them. And then only 19.9% of the company is going to be owned by ByteDance. So that is under the legal limit of the law in terms of foreign ownership. You mentioned safeguards. So this is where Oracle comes into play a little bit more. They are going to safeguard user data, U.S. user data. They're going to review the algorithm frequently, and then that algorithm is going to be retrained on U.S. user data. So I think for the casual TikTok user at home, the idea is there is a deal. The content you see might be a little bit different because that algorithm is going to be retrained. Remember, that's their secret sauce. But you are going to still be able to interact with global content, global accounts. That's very important. That experience will
How do we
change.
know, though? I have a friend who used to work in government, and I asked her, I wanted to send her a funny TikTok that I had done. And she says, I don't use TikTok. And I said, why? She goes, because I sat in on too many national security briefings. And I thought, okay, that's kind of scary. And so how do we know that even with this new ownership structure that our data isn't at risk? You still got 19% that's owned by ByteDance.
So the president has reviewed the deal, and he has approved it. So according to him, this is okay. And remember, Congress did leave it in the hands of the president to decide what is okay. I do think skeptics, to your point, are going to push back on this and say, okay, so Oracle reviewing the code. Well, back in 2024, when this law was being reviewed, you had a bunch of people saying Oracle having oversight of this is not going to be enough. And so I think the argument is going to be, well, since they're an owner now, they would have more jurisdiction over it. But you have already heard a number of GOP lawmakers come out and say we want a public hearing to really get at these issues because we want to make sure that U.S. user data is safe and that that code is not being manipulated. And so, sure, maybe a Chinese company having 19.9%, it's not a majority ownership, but they may still have some influence. So there's definitely going to be a lot of questions there.
And definite access to the
for
data.
sure.
It's interesting. The president personally thanked Chinese President Xi Jinping, who approved this deal, and it just goes to show how important this really was for both countries.
And a future trade deal, maybe.
Exactly. Well, we should also point out that, of course, Oracle was founded by Larry Ellison, who is the father of David Ellison, who runs CBS News' parent company, Paramount Skydance, the owner of Paramount Skydance. And so the question, of course, is, to me, ultimately, you said something important, Kelly, which is that people might see a slight change in how the algo is targeting us. But people, I think, are probably who are on TikTok and who use it as a form of doing business are probably breathing a sigh of relief, right? It's good for the economy in the sense that there's a lot of gig people or people who are influencers who use TikTok as their main source of income.
The small businesses on there, I mean, we talked to a lot of them as this whole thing was playing out, and they say TikTok over some of the other platforms because of that all-important algorithm has really helped them grow their business. So those folks are definitely happy that this has happened.
Yeah, I do wonder how they're going to tweak the algorithm, what they're going to move it from and move it toward, but we shall see. All right, Kelly O'Grady, thank you so much as always.